really inside underneath all this.
All right, excellent. Now, talking of Bitter and Twisted, we're going to come to some comedy. And following his Knock 'em Dead show about capital punishment, Keith Farnan is now back taking on racism and religionism for his latest stand-up spectacular, No Blacks, No Jews, No Dogs, No Irish, All Welcome. Keith is performing at Edinburgh's Underbelly throughout August and previewing at the Battersea Arts Centre in London on the 15th of July. But if you can't or won't go to either of those, here is Keith Farnan.
The show is based on a sign I saw when I worked in a restaurant in America, which it was in the manager's office. It actually said no blacks, no Jews, no dogs, no Irish. What was really surprising was there was an African-American waitress called Patience. There was a Jewish guy called Brian, and I was there. Now, there were no dogs working there, which showed that some prejudices will never die. And the manager kept the sign in his office because his grandfather had put it up outside the restaurant in the times of recession, in the bad times, and he was ashamed of it, and he wanted to have the sign there to show that the bad times will never return, and I'm sure we all agree they never will. So, the BNP have been elected into the European Parliament. For our friends from America, the BNP, they're sort of like the KKK without a costume designer. That's what they're like. You know, and it's I mean, the thing is, in Ireland, we don't really have the equivalent. I mean, the Neo-Nazi Alliance tried to come to Ireland a few years ago to set up, and they left after a few months, and they spent thousands of pounds, and they basically said we weren't fascist enough. And I thought that the tourism board missed an opportunity there. You could have had all the slogans in the airports, welcome to Ireland, we're just not fascist enough. It would have been fantastic. And I'm not saying that Ireland is perfect. I mean, we're not exactly the poster boy for ethnic diversity. When God set out his ice cream stall of nations, we were the vanilla. It's true. We've a few hundreds and thousands, but that's about it. And I suppose, you know, in Ireland, we try to look at, you know, also religious diversity, because I go to New York, I gig lots of Jewish comedians, friends over there, and they say, is there any anti-Semitism in Ireland? And I'm like, no, there's no Jews. There's only Catholics. There's a few Protestants, but that's more of a hobby than a religion. Let's be fair. And I thought to myself, you know, I wanted to learn more, because a lot of people in Ireland, we feel we've been betrayed by the Catholic Church. And I thought to myself, this is the thing. I wanted to learn more about Judaism and what it was about. And I went to a synagogue and everything else like that, because I thought, you know, because in Cork, where I grew up, the ignorance was unbelievable. We had complaints when a church was being built about, you know, the fact that the Jesus on the cross looked Jewish. That was embarrassing, having to explain to everyone he was Jewish, not Catholic. In fairness to the Cork people, most of our Jesuses looked a little bit like Michael Collins until that time. You know, he was sort of our JFK. And I went to the synagogue, and it was wonderful. There was a gift shop next door, and they had Jewish action figures. They had an action Jesus, which was great. He came in two poses. He had crucified and praying. He wouldn't be crucified. We had the Sigmund Freud doll. The Sigmund Freud doll was amazing. He had a couch and a really attractive mother. We had Albert Einstein. He came with a bomb and an apology. And this is where the link, you have to look for the commonality between everyone and between the Irish and the Jewish. Somebody said, look, Albert Einstein, he had Irish roots somewhere, they said. And I thought, of course, look at him with hair and a moustache like that. He must have been an Irish ballad singer for the Dubliners at one stage. You can see him in a bar somewhere in the west of Ireland over a fireplace with a pint of Guinness and an Aran sweater, just going, 'twas early 1905 in a small Austrian town. I discovered relativity and I wrote the whole thing down. They say I'm mad eccentric, my hair's a little weird, but I blew the feckers all away with E equals MC squared.
Very good. Thank you. I think you balanced out your offence there very well. So well done, Keith Farnan.